3 months was standard training for men to become officers. 90-day wonders they were called. Murray had 3 weeks. He learned about the Navy regulations and customs for medical corps officers through a 14-assignment correspondence course. He had been at the U.S. Naval Hospital in Brooklyn for such a brief time that the commanding officer, Captain G.E. Robertson, remarked in his Report on the Fitness of Officers, "This officer has been on duty at this hospital too short a period to form a true opinion of his ability." His only other training had been 2 months of ROTC at New York University in 1930. That didn't stop the U.S. Navy from giving him orders to sail for Manila on August 8, 1941. His family said goodbye to him at Grand Central Station as he waited for the sleek 20th Century Limited that would take him to Chicago in a mere 16 hours en route to San Francisco. Their farewell was emotional, yet typically restrained. Murray tried to make light of the situation by giving his parents a fifth of bourbon as a parting gift. Lewis was proud of his son for becoming a doctor, proud that his adopted country had vowed to defeat Nazism, but he was also deeply worried. He decided not to open the bottle until he knew Murray was safe. The last thing Murray saw from his Pullman car window was his brother Sidney running alongside as the locomotive slowly gathered speed. On a drizzly afternoon in September 1941, the President Garfield eased into Manila Bay. On her port side was Corregidor, the tadpole-shaped island that warned ships of its presence with a 19th-century Spanish lighthouse and massive coastal guns. On the starboard side, you could see the mountains of Batangas Province. The Garfield slipped into her berth at Pier 7, and when John Bookman and Murray Glusman stepped off the gangway, they found themselves in a city that could have sprung from one of Somerset Maugham's Tales of the South Seas. The waterfront was bustling with Filipino laborers. The smell of copra was everywhere. Lieutenant Commander H.C. Brokenshire, an attending surgeon, greeted the two men. A corpsman drove them to Sangley Point, a hook-shaped peninsula on the southern end of Manila Bay that housed the U.S. Naval Hospital at Canyacao. There was a reason Manila was called the Pearl of the Orient. A necklace of elegant houses encircled Manila Bay. Coconut palm trees swayed along the shoreline, and an equestrian trail ran nearby, beyond which rose dark green hills and mountains that turned purple in the haze. The sunsets were as beautiful as the undulating iridescence on the inside of an oyster shell. The jewel in the American Commonwealth, Manila was a symbol of U.S. power in the Pacific, one after Commodore George Dewey's momentous naval victory over Spain in the War of 1898. At low tide, you could see the rusting hulks of the Spanish fleet off the Cavite Navy Yard. Pier 7 was known as the $1 Million Pier, built in the 1920s on reclaimed land to accommodate luxury liners. Just beyond lay Dewey Boulevard, which boldly announced American interests. The Manila Hotel, where General Douglas MacArthur made his home in a sumptuous mahogany-paneled suite, overlooked the water. Across Luneta Park was the elegant Army-Navy Club, where you could sip drinks on the veranda for 15 or 20 cents apiece as you watched the sun set or listened to old sunshiners at the bar tell tall tales once too often and impress junior officers with little except a capacious talent for alcoholic consumption. Due south was a Malacañang Palace, the residence of the President of the Commonwealth of the Philippines, Manuel L. Quezon. Stately and imposing, it was a dramatic contrast to the wood-framed dwellings that grew out of the landscape, and it conveyed wealth that was anything but common. The streets of Manila were crowded with stalls that reeked of deep-fat frying. Vendors hawked their wares and cried, "Balut!" duck eggs that were just ready to hatch before they were boiled in water and sold as a delicacy. Cab drivers swerved like madmen to avoid carretelas, the two-wheeled carriages pulled by calesa ponies. Donkeys and carabao, water buffaloes, swayed beneath their burdens. Bicycles veered in front of brightly colored red and yellow Pambusco buses. Cascos, cargo boats used as houseboats, bobbed along the Pasig River. In the old walled city of Intramuros, Men stood in doorways smoking black cigars, and women sat beside windows chewing betel nuts.